Good evening. This is the July 25th, 2024 Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Subcommittee meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Commissioner Greco, would you call the roll, please?
Okay, Alan Leishman.
Present.
Marianne Greco, present. Joe Amore.
Present.
And Robert Wagner.
Present.
All right, all commissioners are present. We're going to move on to item 2, public comments. There are no members of the public with us tonight, so we will carry straight on to item 3, amendments to the agenda. Are there any proposed amendments to tonight's agenda? Commissioner Wagner?
I was going to offer an amendment, but I see you have community outreach. I was going to talk about the back-to-school resource fair, and then also about Brewfest, which is coming up in October. But I think that'll fit under community outreach.
Okay. Any other amendments? All right. Seeing none, we'll carry on to item 4, approval of the minutes.
Do we want to approve them together or separately? The strategic meeting and the regular meeting. One was Thursday, one was 2 days later.
This is Commissioner Wagner. I think you can combine them. I mean, if there's, I didn't see a problem with them, so.
Yeah, I would be fine entertaining a motion to approve both of them.
All right, I will make a motion to approve both the June 27th meeting and the June 29th meeting minutes.
I'll second that motion.
All right. All those in favor of approving both sets of minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Both those are approved. Let's go on to item 5, business. Item 5A, 2024-25 goal setting discussion. So I sent out a copy of a few goals that I drafted up. They are in no way meant to be the gospel truth. I just wanted to have a starting point for conversations tonight. If other people have goals that they want to discuss, that is fine as well. Yeah, I guess I would start by asking, for people that read through the goals, were there any initial questions or concerns that people had about the ideas that I put down?
Sorry.
No worries. If there's not anything off the top of anyone's head, we could just go through one goal at a time and kind of
Yeah, let's go through one
discuss.
so there's nothing missed.
Sure. So on the first page were just the priorities that we've kind of left that planning meeting with.
This is Commissioner Wagner.
Yes.
So you use the word goals. Are you interchanging goals and priorities?
I am not.
Okay.
So I might be accidentally mixing them up, but in my mind, goals are very tangible things that we as a commission can try to achieve, whereas priorities are things that we have heard from the public that we should be focusing on. So like, for instance, priority A on that document is establishing a north-south bike route. Obviously, we as a commission can't go out there with our shovels and, spray paint a bike route ourselves. But there are goals that we can do to make sure that the village achieves that priority in a reasonable fashion. So you'll notice that like each one of these priorities I have lettered. And I tried to highlight in the goals that I wrote which of those priorities each goal is intending to address. So, for example, the first goal that I wrote was oversight of Ardmore improvement and grade separation projects. So my intent with this goal was basically, that we would set up a regular conversation with staff. We'd reach out to them, once per quarter to hear what the status of these projects are. And then whatever we find out, we would distribute through relevant channels to the public to make sure that the public is aware of the progress that we're making on these. And so this, I said that this goal addresses priorities A and F, which are A is north-south bike routes. Obviously, bicycles are mentioned as part of the redevelopment of Ardmore, and so I figure as long as we continue to keep this conversation with staff going, bicycles are not going to be forgot in that plan. And then I also said that this goal is helping to address item F, which is the grade separation of the UP West and Ardmore, or wherever it happens to be. And so does that all make sense for what, like, this notation that I'm trying to use here?
I caught on to that real quickly.
Okay.
Your format is excellent. I definitely appreciate the specifics that you put into this. This is actually, so far, looks really doable.
Yeah.
This particular one, requesting updates from staff and publicizing, we can throw almost anything in there. It's not a huge extra effort to add another project like the Tri-Trail Connector.
Yeah, or Villa Avenue improvement or anything else. Yeah. I was trying to, of course, follow the SMART framework for these goals. The one thing that I haven't really added to many of these goals is the time component of all of them. I wanted to kind of discuss that with you all and, come to a consensus about like how long we think these things will take. So these are, kind of SMART goals, not SMART goals, because they're missing the T.
But I mean, you do have some time in it, once per quarter. So every quarter we have a check-in, we have a time. Some of them you can't put a time component on because it's when there's a public meeting, which we have no control over.
Yeah.
We also don't know when the projects will end, so the time component is just through the completion of the projects.
Yeah, so this one's a little bit weird. Maybe like the time component that I will add to it is until these construction projects are finished.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean through completion of the project.
Yeah. Any other questions or concerns about this goal in particular? Okay. Then the second one that I have on here is kind of a more ambitious one, I would say, a longer term goal, which is, the number two thing that we heard from the public is they want, traffic crossings to be safer for pedestrians. And so this goal takes that very literally, and, I would like us to basically go through the process of, identifying an intersection in particular that we think the crossing could be improved, and then, making a request to staff that that gets put into the budget for an upcoming year and hopefully follow it through to construction. Commissioner Amore, I think you had a question?
Well, this is Commissioner Amore. It seems to me that the village sometimes feel that the safer crossing is to have no crossing at all.
I'm sorry, say it again.
They sometimes behave as if the safer crossing is to have no crossing at all. For example, when they resurfaced Cornell by St. Charles, when they striped a crosswalk across St. Charles.
That was Charles.
That's right, I'm sorry. Charles and St. Charles Road.
Okay.
And then they came back and ground it off because they didn't want a crossing there because there was no protected crossing infrastructure with a stop and go light with a push button like they have at St. Charles and Ardmore, and then there's not another one until St. Charles and Villa.
Yeah.
I've been advocating for a long time that hopefully when they do the St. Charles, road renewal, that they actually put safer crossings in for people who need to get across there, and if they want to go to Dairy Queen or if they want to get to the new rec center. The fact is that right now, basically, is everybody's running across the street without any kind of protection. So I just don't understand their priorities. I don't know if it's a state mandate or whatever the case may be, because when I lived in Chicago, every intersection had striped crossings for pedestrian, no matter how big the street was. It was a 4-lane street, and then you had a striped crosswalk.
Well, I mean, like, if we, I think if we come with like a very specific request of like, in your example, we want there to be a safe crossing at Charles and St. Charles, across St. Charles.
Right, at least a midpoint,
And, we think that, we estimate that that is going to cost X number of dollars, so we would like, this much money dedicated in the 2026 budget for that project in particular. Maybe we can, either they'll say yes, or, if they say no, then I think it's within our rights to ask why not.
Right.
And maybe we can get, a better understanding of
And
their
for
hesitancy.
example, County Line Road goes to the county complex, right? It crosses the Great Western Trail. There's a sign that says there's a pedestrian crossing there. There's no flashing light, the high, I can't remember what they call it. It's it's a 4-letter acronym.
Oh yeah, the
Where you
our-
push buttons, like they
yeah,
have
the
a-
rapid flashing.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. I mean, everybody's fending themselves, supposed to fend for themselves. The speed limit is 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And the county can afford to put one in.
Yeah.
They're not crying, for.
Sure.
So
Well, hopefully.
I would say a minimum of halfway between one and the other. They at least, when they narrow the street and calm it down to 25, like Mark McLaughlin was talking about at a meeting, that they actually put a crossing or two in there and put the infrastructure in.
Yeah, so I do not have any goals in here about, St. Charles specifically, since that is, not an official project yet. But if that comes up, then I definitely think that we as a committee should have a stance on it.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I love the idea of picking one to really focus on because it's just within the scope of what we can do. But for existing projects like Villa Avenue Improvement Project or Ardmore Improvement, where it's kind of bigger and we're asking for updates, should we be pushing to remind them about the complete streets and when they're in there anyway to be considering those intersections? So even though it might not be the one we're working on, if it's part of a bigger project, maybe make it just a little bit more on our radar.
Yeah, I mean, with our oversight responsibilities, I think we definitely should be reminding the village of our bike pedestrian master plan. We should be reminding them of the complete streets policy that they adopted. All of that jazz. My target for this goal in particular was, something external to existing projects.
Okay,
Um,
which makes perfect sense.
yeah.
So,
Commissioner Maury.
So I really don't see our role as oversight because we really don't have the power to correct mistakes within the planning. And I don't remember, it was a long time back, and I don't remember if it was Manager Keener or Manager Harline, but we actually pressed to be involved in phase 1 engineering, and we were basically told.
I didn't hear what you said.
We actually inquired about being present during the phase 1 engineering and the planning, and they basically told us that we weren't welcome there.
I see your point. It's oversight sounds like we have some control, so maybe a better word is monitor and advise rather than oversight. I think we all understood the context of that, but yeah, I can see how that might imply we have more power than we do.
Yeah, I'm not fixed to the language. Did you have a thought, Commissioner Wagner?
No, when you said oversight, that's what came to my mind. Unfortunately, we don't have oversight.
Okay.
We have advisory, an advisory role.
And,
Yeah,
and
so
this,
But I
monitor
mean, we
and
certainly
advise.
can be advocates and
Right.
champions for certain issues.
Monitor, advise, and advocate.
and this is Commissioner Moore again, and if we ever get a village board liaison on the ECC, maybe that person could be our advocate at the planning, at the level of planning, that where we would actually have some opportunity to provide input.
It's up to them. I've asked an individual, but
Well, there's another election coming up, so
Yeah.
you never know.
Okay. Any other concerns about this crossing or questions about the crossing? Yeah.
One more. So are we, would it be within our purview to remind them if we see pavement markings that are faded? Or should that just be as a resident that we could call and say, hey, you can't see the lines here at this intersection, and when are you guys gonna repaint?
So my suggestion would be that would fall under our next goal.
Oh, yay.
So thank you for the segue.
so
Yeah.
Mr. Wagner, so
Yeah.
request allocation in 2026 budget.
Yes.
So that's a ways off. I mean, we still have an opportunity to make requests for the 2025 budget.
Yes. They are starting the 2025 budget draft right now.
And the forms for commissions will come out on August 19th, but that, we're not requesting a budget for the commission, we're requesting a budget for them to
For-
advocate for,
Specific project.
Yeah,
We can try to go for the 2025 budget. There was another request that I was hoping to make for the 2025 budget, which is 2 goals from now. I wasn't sure if we would be able to identify an intersection and come in with a specific request within the next month.
Yeah, to identify and properly research the best solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be very clear, like, we are not engineers. We don't know, like, the best traffic solution for a particular intersection. But, like, I think we are, as residents, very capable of identifying problem points. And saying, we want to fix this next year or in 2026 or whatever.
Well,
I
and like
think-
you,
Commissioner Wagner, I think you made a really good point. We're not engineers.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. But we can identify, as you said, issues. And I mean, you don't need to be an engineer to see that there's a problem at St. Charles,
Yes.
North Avenue, and Roosevelt. I mean,
No.
when you have to scurry across and you're an able-bodied person,
No, you
it's
just
certainly, yeah.
you just need to go to Dairy Queen once to find out there's a problem
Yeah.
at St. Charles.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But we do have existing resources by expert. We have the Active Transportation Alliance Plan, which does give specific recommendations for some
Yes.
intersections.
And that is, so you'll notice under the first step, the sub-item I specifically mentioned that we should be looking at that. Sorry, I guess I didn't define the acronym. That 2018 is the Bike Pedestrian Master Plan, BPMP.
Oh, okay.
So that we would be looking at the recommendations from Active Transportation, as well as IDOT has publicly accessible data about all crashes that happen on Illinois roads.
Yeah. But I guess my
Um,
point is that we can suggest specific engineering fixes
Yeah.
based on what other experts have said.
Absolutely.
So, understanding that they may totally change it, but yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. So the next goal that I outlined was I call monitoring and publicizing our bicycle and pedestrian networks. I say monitoring here. Someone else was reading the goals and they thought I had written monetizing our bicycle and pedestrian networks.
There we go.
But
How's it told?
Yeah, let's sell advertising on every block of sidewalk,
Yeah.
every sidewalk square.
But that is not the intent of this goal. This one kind of combines a lot of different things. First step is, kind of reviewing the network that the 2018 BPMP recommended, and then kind of going through an assessment of what has changed in the last 6 years. Have we improved anything to more align with this master plan? Has anything gotten worse? And as part of that, there would probably be a walk audit of sidewalks, which I know is something that Commissioner Wagner has expressed interest in doing in the past. I think that could be a great way to get the community involved. And basically just, updating our map from 2018 with, current status. And then, my intent is that we basically update this map on a yearly basis to make sure that it is always current and we're always comfortable sharing it with the public so that they know the best ways to navigate around town.
May I offer a suggestion?
Of course.
This is Commissioner Mori. Why don't we establish a date prior to the consideration of a budget so that we can have it included in the pending budget?
Sure. Yeah, we could shoot to have basically steps 1 and 2 completed by sometime in the summer of 2025. Yeah, this map would, be both a bicycle map as well as probably a separate pedestrian map. And there would be lots of relevant information in there about, safe routes, bicycle parking, etc.
Commissioner Wagner, so one avenue is going through the village's budget. The other avenue is to pursue grants.
Of course.
That pursue a grant for, a pamphlet on bike networks or, so, I mean, as you know, the active transportation meetings, Maggie Serwinski has a wealth of, it's like overwhelming, all these grants, okay? If I had time, or if we all had time, we'd do it. But maybe picking strategically a grant and trying to get staff to go after that grant.
Yeah. So are you talking specifically about grants for like capital improvements of the network itself, or in terms of like printed materials?
I'm talking about printed material.
Okay.
Primarily, but there's just, as you know, there's a wealth of there's money out there, and sometimes the grants go away because no one's going after them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's just it's kind of keeping on top of things and maybe going to staff to say, hey, this wouldn't be too complicated to do.
Yeah.
Why don't we try?
Yeah. No. As you're probably aware, Commissioner Wagner, the what is it? The IDET grants are going on right now with IDOT or ITEP. Sorry, ITEP grants, which are IDOT grants that are specifically designed for improving bicycle and pedestrian networks in towns around the state. And so they are very large grants that are looking for very large scale projects. And unfortunately, the application process is going on right now, and it's only every other year. So like, even if we were able to prepare something in the next year, we'd have to wait till 2026 to apply for it. Commissioner Mori.
This is Commissioner Mori. So whether you've seen it or not, it's not yet available on YouTube. But Monday at the village board meeting, they voted to approve the acceptance of the strategic plan. And I had read through it, and I didn't see anything. It was basically a plan that was presented in broad strokes and not a lot of detail. But I did speak specifically that the village hopefully will look into hiring a full-time grant writer so that we can take advantage of these opportunities, especially when most of the strategic plan bases our failures on lack of funds.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think you're all making great points. Specifically, like with printed materials, I think there's like quite a few like micro grants that might be like suited for that sort of thing. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for those sorts of opportunities. I don't know any off the top of my head that are open right now, but probably as the year progresses. Any other questions or concerns about the bike ped network goal?
Only that, it's, this could easily be online, so I think the more time passes, the less important the printed is.
Sure.
Not to say we shouldn't do it because we will need it, but you
Yes.
can definitely, like in the kiosk, have a QR code to link it to the interactive online map.
Yeah, so I do mention in 2A, it's probably best to do this with GIS software, which I have a little bit of experience with, but not a ton. But that would basically allow us to put it up on the website and share it with people.
Oh, I totally got the idea from your note.
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Commissioner Mori. So, in regard to that, as you've mentioned, as you're building a map for the bike racks,
Mm-hmm.
if we could have it built in and people could have, watch the progression and see where there's updates, because there's kind of partial maps embedded within village websites, but it needs to have one central location that people could say bicycle infrastructure. Where
Yeah.
you just click on it and it'll show you, oh, look, they got bike racks over here. And oh, look, there's a trail here that I can use that I didn't know was there, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, my intent would be to make that bike parking map a part of this. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go on to the next goal. So this one I'm calling Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan Small Project Budget. So this one is a little bit more abstract. But my intent was basically, one of the goals one of the recommendations that we received from our latest bike-friendly community application was to have dedicated budget towards implementing our bicycle master plan, committed year over year. And so this would be our first step in that progress. We're going to request, some dedicated small amount of money be in the budget every single year, and basically that would be used for incremental improvements to our bicycle network. I wasn't sure on the exact number. I was kind of hoping to discuss that. But my intent would be, it's enough money to, maybe put in a new wayfinding sign or put in a couple bike racks somewhere or something like that. Yeah, Commissioner Moore.
So the numbers you have listed in bullet point 2, the way to do that is like what you basically take what you recommended. You ask for 10,000, you settle for 5.
Yeah.
So, and this is Commissioner Wagner, I know you just putting numbers in there just for, but I'm kind of thinking it, let's say, for example, a commission budget. Now I'm thinking of another commission that maybe their budget zoomed of $9,000 for a commission. So I would think sometimes you need to ask for more, and then you're going to get, I think you're alluding to that,
Sure.
ask for $50K and maybe you'll get 25.
Sure, that's certainly a good negotiation strategy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around what are projects that we can accomplish.
So
'Cause that could determine how much money we ask for.
So I want to be very clear. This is not BPT money.
No.
This is money that the village is going to have in its infrastructure budget to improve the bicycle and pedestrian networks in town. The way I'm envisioning it is just a pool of money that's like right there next to the money that they use to repair potholes and stuff like that. But instead they're using it to, either fix sidewalks or they're using it for bike racks. We as a commission or subcommittee can make recommendations as to what they should be using it for in a given year. but it is not budget that we have control over.
Right, because so many of the improvements we need are like multi-agency, intersections often involve more than one agency and are much bigger budget than we could request every year. So that's why I was just trying to think of things that were feasible. And like you said, you made me think, you said they have money to fix potholes. Well, I know technically the homeowner is responsible for sidewalks in front of their house, but maybe some of that money goes to fix the sidewalks or to make the effort to get the homeowner on board with a 50-50 or.
Yep.
But to actually target specific sidewalks that are in really bad shape and okay, I see. But understanding the kinds of projects we think that the village can accomplish helps us decide how much money to ask for.
Sure.
And
Commissioner Mori?
Commissioner Mori, so under that guideline, I would think that the appropriate lead on this would be community development. Because we're making improvements to make the village more walkable, more friendly to the people who don't want to have to rely on an automobile if they don't have to.
Yeah, it could also arguably go under Public Works because Public Works is going to be the one putting people out there to do
To implement.
it. Yeah. So, yeah, Commissioner Wagner.
Yeah, so with regards to budgets, just thinking big picture might be a way to look at a funding source to say, okay, well, maybe this could be a funding source for bike improvements. I don't know what that funding source could be. I hate to bring up taxes or, to raise a tax for bike improvements, but.
Sure. I mean, I'm hoping that like the amount that we asked for is not such a burden on the village budget that we have to talk about, raising more capital for the village. But I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Commissioner Wagner.
Okay, so I think that it's been underfunded or not funded for years, so, yeah, I mean.
You mean
bike
bike infrastructure?
Yeah, bike
Yeah.
infrastructure, yeah.
And Commissioner Mori, it's a shared responsibility. So a portion could come out of community development and a portion out of public works because they're supposed to be working in tandem for a common goal.
Sure. Yeah.
I also think it's enough to just figure out how much money we want in the budget and let them figure out how to slot it in to make it work.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about this goal in particular? Okay, the last one that I mocked up is a very specific one, addressing priority number E, which is having some sort of event to, educate people how to ride pace and encourage them to do so. For me, there's kind of a lot of open questions just because I'm not really certain right now who we should target that event to. So I have reached out to Pace. Is it Chris?
Chris Rose.
Chris Rose, at Pace, to ask if they've done any sort of like education event like this before, and what sort of audiences they normally try to encourage to ride pace. I unfortunately haven't heard a response yet, but that's why this goal is kind of written more vague.
Commissioner Wagner, so I've been to events. Last year I went to an event, a bicycle event in Arlington Heights. Pace was there, all kinds of material, and then they didn't have the bus with the bike rack, but they had the bike rack without the bus.
I've seen that, yeah.
So you can, so they'll show you how to load your bike onto a bus.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we could get them out for events.
Yeah.
The Summerfest would have been perfect for that because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't have been perfect because it was so hot.
Yeah, that's
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. But I like that idea though of combining it with something else and then you'll get better turnout.
Sure.
Because people will be there anyway.
Right.
So maybe, you know, a group ride or something. We've got some big group ride event happening and we get Pace to bring their bike rack.
So Commissioner Moore, I have a question. So I've advocated in the past that the Pace event, would be a perfect partner for Brewfest. Because
Yeah.
the route goes through the neighborhoods, you don't want people being too tipsy. You know, they could tell people saying, hey, take the bus to get there, take the bus back, bring your bike if you want to, you know, if you need to get a little bit off a trail. So what do we have preceding Brewfest that they could bring their bike rack mock-up to show people, if you're coming to Brewfest, this is how you would load your bike if you decided to bring your bike and didn't want to ride it home. You know, if you had a few too many and you rode your bike there and you didn't want to have to walk it back. So does anybody have an idea of what events might be preceding that?
So there is, of course, National Night Out. There's the Back to School Resource Fair, which is coming up fast, August 3rd. And then there's the Autumn Jubilee. And I've never been to the Autumn Jubilee. This will be their second year. It's on October 12th. I talked to, it wasn't Leslie Allison, it was the co-chair. She's very nice. She said that they had 500 people last year.
Oh.
So,
Wow.
so
Well,
it's yeah.
the night out is August 6th. There probably wouldn't be enough
Yeah,
time.
there's not enough time, but yeah.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
was
it-
the autumn one?
Autumn Jubilee.
Jubilee,
Yeah. It's in October.
yeah.
I mean, with the hopefully, Chris from Pace will get back to me, and I can like start asking about these sorts of things. I mean, if nothing else, even if Pace doesn't have the bandwidth to like come out to one of our events, I think if nothing else, we could hand out flyers that are saying take Pace for Oktoberfest. You know,
Yeah.
We could always,
or for Brewfest, not Oktoberfest.
Do they
sorry.
if
even
they
have
don't get a
portable
response,
flyers?
call Tom Marcucci and say, hey, Tom, they're not
Yeah.
responding to us.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Well, yeah.
Do they even have paper schedules anymore?
I don't know.
Hey, what?
Paper schedules? You can't get them from Amtrak anymore, and they're hard to find at Metro. Everything is in a PDF.
Yeah, well, an app. Everybody
Yeah.
wants you to use a phone app. Well, if we're gonna do flyers for Brewfest, let's encourage biking, walking,
Right.
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know, buses. Encourage it all.
That
There
is
you go.
Brewfest is in August, right?
October.
October.
Okay, so we got some time to
Yeah.
figure that out.
Brewfest is October 5th.
Okay.
Oh, so the autumn jubilee is probably after that.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. I don't want to digress.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the goals that I drafted up. Are there any other goals that people wanted to discuss? Ideas that they had?
I mean, I have some things that are close to my heart, but I also don't want to dilute the work. We have some, you know, we're stretched, so
Yeah.
I say this is what the public said, we do it.
Right. So, I forwarded you guys an email a little while ago that I got. I know not everyone agrees, but I really, in my heart of hearts, believe that the Villa Avenue Improvement Project between North Avenue and St. Charles Road needs to have the plan changed to put the bicycle Salt Creek Trail that goes between Thomas and 2nd Street over Villa Avenue on the east side instead of the west side. And I've had meetings with Mike Guerra, and he says, well, we put it on the west side because of costs. So then I went, because of costs. And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, you know, when you, I went out there and I said, did you factor the cost of the fact that just south of the railroad track, you have 4 mature parkway trees, you have 2 fire hydrants. Are you going to relocate all that to get your path in when you could just narrow the center island and put it on the east side where it belongs? And I've had a city engineer, what's the guy's name who's in the commission that you,
Kevin Mantles?
No, Jay, it's not Jay, is it the one that you sit on that you give the BP&T?
Oh, the chair of the traffic,
Yeah.
agency? Jay Pinkos.
Yeah, and I think we talked, he was interested, and there's the other guy who is in the Elmhurst Bicycle Club that chairs one of the commissions.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't have his name at the top of his head, but he believes it should be on the
You
east
talking
side.
about Jason Jarrett?
Yeah.
Yes,
Jason Jarrett's chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
right.
Yeah.
He believes it should be on the east side. I'm a precinct committee person, and my precinct covers both sides of Villa. I've got the two aldermen in Elmhurst that cover the Pick area. They both believe it should be on the east side, and I'm sure a lot of the residents do too, So whether or not a Villa Avenue underpass is presented to the board as a best opportunity when they do a grade separation, as long as they're tearing up that road, this is the time to put it in. And I had our state rep, Diane Blair Sherlock's office, check with IDOT, and they're still in the planning stages. So the time to make to make a real argument about taking the cost of what they are designing, and then the cost of the alternate side, and what the cost for that would be, and put it in real numbers and see what the cost difference is.
So I haven't had a chance to read this email, but are you hoping that this will be one of our goals?
Well, this is my passion project.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the fact is that if there's a plan to create bikes infrastructure, I mean, it's right in the email, it's right in the plan.
Mm-hmm.
They want to widen the sidewalks,
Yes.
and there's a lack of a pedestrian gate. I recommended that. The sidewalks are really not appropriate for a bicycle path, especially when it goes in two directions. And I mean, even when they redid, when they put the tri-trail east of Villa,
Yeah.
that's a disaster. I mean, it's horrible. With blacktop, they tore up concrete to put blacktop in, and then you still got to worry about egress coming out of Ovaltine. It just, if you don't grab it and say, wait a minute, before they start building it, because basically we had no input on the tri-trail. They decided this is the plan, and no matter how many meetings they had and how much arguments there were, nobody could change the plan.
Hopefully by regularly making sure that we have consistent conversation with staff, we can be more involved in the planning and design of these projects. It's a little bit harder to do with plans that are already designed and in motion. But are you? What exactly are you suggesting with regards to our goal setting right now? Do you want a goal for Villa Avenue in particular?
Well, I think
do you want that added to the first one we discussed, which was the
bottom,
formerly known as oversight?
the bottom line is this: Villa Park is the lead. It's a joint project between Villa Park and Elmhurst.
Okay.
Elmhurst is just paying their share, but Villa Park is the lead.
Okay.
But as long as we have that opportunity to influence the decision making and put protected bike lanes in to make it safer for people to get across there, and when they have to interact with traffic, and not have to have them cross Villa once and to get onto and then back again.
I understand you want it to be on the east side.
Especially when Villa Avenue is basically a raceway for everybody that wants to bypass Route 83 when it gets backed up.
Yes.
It just does not. It does not bode well for someone on a bicycle.
I understand that. I agree Villa is not the best to ride your bike along. Is there a suggestion that you're making for our goals?
I'm looking for input from the subcommittee to offer suggestions.
Commissioner Wagner.
So, I don't recall, so Commissioner Amore came to the last Traffic and Safety Commission meeting, and during public comment.
As a resident.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, not as a member of the subcommittee.
No, but
I
you're
just want to
Commissioner
clarify
Amore.
that. Okay.
he came, and I can't remember, but Director Guerra was there as, serving as the staff liaison that night. And he gave you a detailed, fairly detailed response about that. I don't remember the whole response, but there is another public input meeting that's supposed to occur with that, with respect to that project.
Do you know the timescale of when that meeting will be?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. And just a question for Commissioner Warren, did you also meet with the city of Elmhurst about this as well?
I had this conversation as a resident with the assistant engineer, and I asked them if they would, what their influence, what their, basically I asked what their role in the project was. I didn't ask for input, but I asked for what their role is, and that's when I was told that they're not the lead. Then they basically are just, they presented a plan and a bill, and that's it.
As you would expect, that got back to our staff as well.
Yeah. And I actually was asking as a PC, as a precinct committee person, because I represent people on both sides. And the fact is that they, they didn't have to give me an answer. I didn't ask for any special consideration as a member of BP&T. So the fact is that as has been past practice, I don't anticipate any more influence in the second meeting of whatever Mike Guerra said. He also included in his detailed response that the plan was set, that it couldn't be changed.
Well,
So
if we attend this public input meeting and the public's input is not considered, then that is like a fundamental issue of
Right.
the village government. And that is a bigger problem that we need to address. But in terms of what we as a subcommission are going to focus on in the near term, we're kind of running out of time here. So is anyone comfortable with these goals, and do we want to discuss this further at our next meeting, or do we want to? I think there should be some consensus before we formally adopt these.
I'm very comfortable with them. Now maybe kind of rewrite them. There's a few little tweaks that maybe we made, and then formally approve it at the next meeting.
Okay.
There's some.
Yeah, I'd like to just reread these
Sure.
before we adopt them.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
I think it's ambitious, and it looks modest, but it's actually a lot.
I am well aware.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear, I don't think we can do all of this in the next year. I think realistically it's the next couple years, but we can set some firmer deadlines for that stuff at the next
Commissioner
meeting.
Mori, I recommend, due to time constraints, to be added to the August agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to table till August. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
I
All opposed? All right. Okay, so next item on the agenda, item 5B, I put under here is village parking mandates. I added this as kind of a follow-up to the most recent committee of the whole meeting. I'm not sure if anyone else, Commissioner Wagner was there. I don't know if anyone else saw the meeting. But basically, at the July committee of the whole meeting, there was a presentation from KLOA consultants on a study of car parking that was performed for the Villa Avenue Business District as well as the historic Ardmore Business District. And to give you the short synopsis of those presentations, basically they found that in the Villa Avenue district, even at the busiest that they looked, only 62% of car parking spaces were occupied. And at the Ardmore Business District, it was even more extreme. Only 41% of the car parking was utilized at the peak, which was Saturday at 5 p.m. And so the conclusion that they
How
basically,
much, I'm sorry, for Ardmore?
41%, and Villa was 62%. And so the conclusion that they basically came to was that we do not need more car parking in these areas. In fact, they even went so far as to suggest that we eliminate the minimum parking requirements for non-residential buildings in those areas, which, if you have ever gotten me started on the subject of car parking in the past, you know is something that I'm very passionate about. And based on, just judging on the reaction from the Board of Trustees, it seemed like there were a couple members that would be in support of such a change. And there were a couple members that were less enthusiastic about it. But I think there is going to be a continued conversation about whether we should change our parking minimums. And so what I wanted to bring to this subcommittee was another suggestion that we got from the League of American Bicyclists, which is to add a bicycle parking minimum requirement to our village code. And so where I see that fitting into this discussion is, there are people on the Board of Trustees that do not think we should get rid of parking minimums. There are people on the Board of Trustees that seem to believe that we should get rid of the parking minimums. I could see bicycle parking minimums being a compromise between those two positions where you say, okay, up to 20% of the required parking can be replaced with X number of bicycle parking. And if I'm a business owner, I'm always going to choose bicycle parking because it's so much cheaper to construct. And so I could see that being, a way for us to get a lot more bicycle parking in town. That rant completed. Is that something that we as a subcommittee would like to pursue? Commissioner Wagner.
I think yes, I think so. And you were there, I spoke about it. What I said was, and I think I was just expressing in general terms our feelings that, hey, you ignored bike parking, which does have maybe not a correlation, but a connection to vehicle parking. So if you enhance bike parking, and no one made a comment about it. So I did the rash thing, and I sent KLOA an email. And of course, I eventually got a reaction from staff. So found out about your meeting with them, which I didn't know about. But yes, I think we should work on advocate for bike parking, for standards for bike parking.
I concur. Whether that affects car parking or not can be part of the discussion, but absolutely.
Commissioner Mori?
Commissioner Mori, so I'm very familiar with the businesses on those streets. There are probably fewer than 5 that would be conducive to bike parking. However, if they're going to allow parking spaces to be taken up with benches and tables and chairs, then they should at least consider putting in some type of ordinance that if you're going to take up a village parking space with your tables and chairs, there's the opportunity to put in your bike parking.
So, one thing that became very clear in the meeting was that the vast majority of businesses that are in these districts are the vast majority of historic buildings that are in these districts are not compliant with these policies already because they were grandfathered in before these parking minimums existed. So this really does not impact those businesses at all. What it does is it scares off business owners from trying to create new businesses in town. Because if you know that, if I want to build a restaurant at a vacant lot, but then I also have to purchase a separate lot to build a parking lot for it, I'll go find somewhere where I don't have to do that to build my restaurant. And so I'm not so much concerned about the existing businesses because they're already not compliant in large part. But it sounds like there is appetite for us to pursue this. So maybe by our next meeting, I will draft up a letter, and we can adopt that. Does that sound like a reasonable approach?
Yes, absolutely.
I think I would also encourage commissioners to look for maybe model ordinances
Sure. Yeah.
to see what we could, say, okay, we're here's what this community has done. And I think that Transportation Alliance could probably help us in
Yeah.
finding model ordinances.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Just as Commissioner Mori, as just as a point to, in agreement with the discussion, there's a restaurant on the corner of Charles and St. Charles that has been closed for decades because of a lack of parking.
Yeah.
They tried everything to, so they remodeled it, and it never took off. It never was able to make ends meet because it was an Italian restaurant, and it's next to the pawn shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that restaurant.
And they cannot. They tried valets, they tried everything, and they just couldn't make a go of it because there was never anywhere to park.
Yeah. So that area wasn't specifically considered in this study, but I do think that parking is going to be a very big consideration if they do redevelop St. Charles. I think there needs to be some street parking along there.
Or
Anyway.
at least an off-street lot where they can be shared use like they did when they tore that building down on Villa.
Maybe. Okay. I'm going to move on to item 5C, Tri-Trail Connector update. I unfortunately was very busy today, and so I did not have time to swing by the Tri-Trail and see how it's doing. Does anyone have anything they want to discuss on that?
I mentioned this at Traffic and Safety at the beginning of the month, and Director Guerrero said that they had addressed the issues with landscaping, et cetera,
Okay.
and that they were getting closer to having some sort of, and he even mentioned, the subcommittee, a suggestion to have a ribbon cutting.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So, yeah, I haven't been over there lately, I don't know, but according to him, those issues have been resolved.
Great.
So,
I would like to back up just a little bit.
Sure.
The parking mandates, bicycle minimums. Do we want to involve planning and zoning? It is kind of their purview as well. So maybe copy them on the letter or something to that effect.
So I think they should definitely hear about it. We can either draft the letter ourselves and just send it to them, or we can include them as part of the conversation. Commissioner Wagner, do you have thoughts?
So, Commissioner, you could, there is a mechanism to place something on the agenda for the, for the Planning and Zoning Commission. You could petition them to review, like parking rules. Certainly would be unusual for us as a subcommittee to do it, but I don't think it's, we could certainly do that.
Do we feel that our best approach is to go through planning and zoning or to go through staff? Because I believe either one of those can institute code changes, right?
Right, exactly. If you would go to planning and zoning, you'd have to be prepared with a specific proposal.
Yeah.
You'd have to say, this is the proposal.
So the way I was thinking of drafting this letter, and we can, bring it for approval next time. But the way I was going to think of writing it was going to be, the subcommittee recommends that we, make X, Y, and Z changes, or that village staff drafts village staff drafts a new version of code that replaces some required parking with bicycles. I was going to leave it a little bit vague for village staff to interpret and provide the right legal language for a code change.
So, starting the conversation later.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, I'm good with that. Especially since it's 7:00.
Yes. Does that sound reasonable to you, Commissioner Wagner?
Yeah.
You seem frustrated.
Do I what?
You seem frustrated.
No, I'm not frustrated. I'm just thinking, what's the best avenue? And, I mean, going to planning and zoning kind of gives us a public forum because it's a televised meeting, and it
Sure.
would give other people a chance to discuss it. So,
Maybe, if staff is able to draft some code changes, maybe then it gets presented to planning and zoning,
Yeah.
and we have the official conversation with the more specifics that we want. Okay, let's go on to item 5D, DuPage Rail Safety Council updates.
Okay, quickly, the meeting, they mostly talked about the upcoming conference in October and an ad buy that they're gonna put in Trains Magazine. However, I did get an email from Brian Ruby, who's our rail safety officer on the Villa Park Police, and he specifically invited DuPage Rail Safety Council to table at National Night Out at Cortese Park on August 6th from 5:30 to 8. So I will be there with our table and swag. And unfortunately, because of that commitment, I won't be able to help out if ECC or
Sure.
BP&T has a presence there. And that's all I got.
Okay, 5E, community outreach. Commissioner Wagner, I think you wanted to discuss a couple things.
right, so coming up next week, Saturday, is the, what do they call it? It's the
Back to school.
Back to School Resource Fair. And we were there last year, and the Traffic and Safety Commission has produced 200 yard signs that say, "Drive like your kids play here." And they're sitting across the street at the police station, and I mentioned it to you, and I hope I wasn't overstepping, but I suggested to them, to the Traffic and Safety Commission, that we could help distribute them. And the Back to School Resource Fair would be a great thing.
Sure.
It would be a great opportunity. We have material, we have bike safety material. I have a box of school bus safety material, so it'd be a great opportunity. I'm happy to staff, it's not a long event, so I'm happy to do that. And I apologize if I jumped the gun a little bit, but, so we could distribute up to 40 signs for them and other material, and just would give us and by the way, I did find the banners, so
Great.
they were in plain sight.
What time is the event next Saturday?
I think it's from, last year it was only I think it's from 9 to 11.
Okay.
I'd have to double check that, but
Is it at Tri-Town again?
it's at Tri-Town, correct.
Did you have another item you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, Brewfest.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, I just thought I'd bring it up because I don't know if we want to be if we want to be at Brewfest. It wasn't great last year.
When did you say it was? 10 August?
Brewfest is October 5th from 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed by bike attendance last year, but I think I remember that I reached out to a member of staff that's like planning Brewfest because I wanted us to be more involved in the conversation this year. If like bicycles could be directly, like if the bike valet could be directly a part of the advertising. I don't think I ever got a response on that, so I'll have to reach out to them again. But yeah, thank you for the reminder.
That's not the first conversation we've had about that. How many years have we been at Brewfest?
And we've asked every year, yeah.
Every year we
So
ask.
3 or 4 at least.
Oh, yeah, okay, we'll put it in.
Well, we have a new PIO now. Maybe
But I think
that'll help.
part of the problem is that Brewfest, there's a larger organization that does some of the
Right.
promoting.
Yeah,
And it's getting it to them because it doesn't fit their standard
sure.
layout.
Commissioner Moria?
Just real quick, now back to school resource fair is put on by who?
I
Tri-Town.
can't remember the acronym, but it's put on by Tri-Town, YMCA, District 45, and then a coalition of other groups that are concerned about early childhood, or childhood development and early childhood development.
Okay, thanks.
So it provides resources. So last year, we were at the reverse of back to school. We were at we had a table. I was at a table at the St. A's where they did resources for the summer to kind of compensate.
We were at the back to school event last year as
Right,
well.
where were we
Yeah.
at the North School PTA? Weren't we? The
North School PTA, that's their back to school event.
And
That's coming up soon.
That's coming up.
I don't even know. They didn't reach out to us, so.
Okay.
All right,
Well, you
You can only
Brewfest.
do so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will reach out to the person I contacted about Brewfest again. I personally think we should still be involved. But
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I know it's slow and it's frustrating, it's disappointing, but at some point it'll tip.
Yeah.
Eventually people will realize that we're consistent, we're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should maybe find ways to improve our marketing or give a freebie or, something, but
Yeah.
I do think it's worth doing because I think in time it will catch on.
I'm sorry, say that. What'd you say?
I think it's worth doing because I think in time it will catch on.
Right. And
People
especially-
need repetition to accept
Right,
ideas.
especially with our connection with PTA with the bike and walk to school day at North School. I mean, we've established that
Yeah.
relationship. This is the time to build on it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go on to item 6. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Moria, any
None,
comments?
thank you.
Commissioner Greco.
None.
None.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have comments.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Only 2 comments. One, I've been sitting in on these hearings, or not hearings, but like public information sessions about these ITEP grants from IDOT. They've been very interesting and informative. Based on like what they're saying, I think we would have the most success applying for one if we have phase 1 engineering complete. And so I think maybe that's something we should shoot for the 2026 cycle, is trying to find a project, get phase 1 engineering complete, and then apply for that. Just so people are aware, the bike path over 83 that's going to go north of North Avenue, kind of up by the hotel there, that is an ITEP grant. So that's kind of the scale of projects that they're looking for these grants.
That's
Yeah,
been work. We actually put a letter in
We
on
sent,
that.
we sent an email in support of it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
yeah.
When Keener
Whatever that was.
Keener was the manager back then.
3 years
Yeah.
ago, was it 3 years ago?
So it's still on track, good.
Yes,
It's just-
it's still listed on the website. And then the last thing that I wanted to make sure everyone was aware about, Springfield is working on this Metropolitan Mobility Act, the MMA, which would, try to address the fiscal cliff for us, RTA. One of the representatives, unfortunately I can't remember his name right now, he is having a series of public hearings around the suburbs in support of public transit. And our hearing for DuPage County is going to be August 8th at 10 a.m.
Oh, boy, okay.
A location has not been chosen, I do not believe.
And what was it, MMA?
Yes, the Metropolitan Mobility Act.
I'll find out.
And so I'm hoping that I can attend and speak in support of public transit, and I would encourage anyone else that can to do the same.
The time is, of course, really bad. But
Yes, of course. And that is the only comments I had. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting is adjourned at 7:10 p.m.
oh, we are really.
Okay, this is the July 25th, 2024 meeting of the Environmental Concerns Commission. And we're going to call the meeting to order, I'm going to say 7:12. And Commissioner Draconis, could you just read off the roll, please?
Okay, Alan Dragonis, Joe Murray, Sandra Hill.
Here.
Marion Greco.
Here.
Robert Wagner,
Here,
Jan Leeson,
Here.
and Mr. Bell.
and we have also with us our staff liaison, Vasily Voskresensky.
That's perfect.
I'm getting better.
There you go.
Okay, so we have a quorum present. Going to move on to item 2, public comments on agenda items. There are no members of the public present. So we'll move on to item 3, which is amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to move on to item 4, our consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the June 27th, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes of the June 27th meeting.
Motion by Commissioner Greco. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Amore. Any discussion? I'll just say that, thank you, the minutes are great.
Thank you.
There was one small typo, and it was just the word site.
That's changed.
You changed it, perfect, okay. Otherwise, they're absolutely spot on, and thank you,
Okay,
okay?
you're welcome.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Meeting minutes are approved. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 5A, report of the Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Subcommittee, and I'll turn the floor over to Commissioner Leishman.
Thank you. So vast majority of our meeting tonight was spent discussing following up on our strategic planning meeting that we had back in June. So the public that attended the meeting came up with a list of 6 priorities that they believe that the subcommittee should be focusing on. I don't think this list was generated before the last ECC meeting, so I can probably discuss. It would probably be good to summarize what the public wanted. So the priorities in order were establishing north-south bike routes, improving traffic signage to make street crossings safer, improving wayfinding around trails, establishing a quote-unquote official bike network map, hosting an event to educate and encourage pace usage, and finally constructing an over/underpass of the UP West line. Now, obviously, we as a subcommittee cannot accomplish those things on our own, and so we are in the process of taking those priorities and converting them to what we're calling goals, which are very tangible things that we as a subcommittee can address in the next couple years. And so we were discussing some draft goals that I put together, and we decided to table the discussion and probably finalize them at our August meeting. I'm happy to share copies of both the priorities and the goals that we're working on with any commissioners that are interested. So that was the vast majority of our meeting. And then we also decided that we're going to be, I'm not sure if any other commissioners saw the most recent committee of the whole meeting, but it was a presentation from some consultants about the availability of parking in the Villa Avenue Business District as well as the Ardmore Avenue Historic Ardmore Business District. And basically the conclusion that the consultants came to is that we have more parking there than we actually need. And so they're encouraging the village to lift the parking minimums for non-residential businesses. And so we decided as a subcommittee that we think there's a place in that conversation for bicycle parking as well, whether that be replacing some required minimum parking with bicycle parking instead. Basically just throwing our hat to the conversation. And yeah, that's kind of what we talked about tonight.
Okay, well, thank you for that report. Okay, I'm gonna move on to item 5B, follow up on Spring Sweep 2024. I have prepared my draft report incorporating your suggestions, and you may be saying, well, Wagner, why did it take you 2 months? It's just been like pulling teeth to get people to respond, and I've just kind of finally given up on some of the vendors getting reports. So just to recap, I think overall it was good. I think we had Manager Harline visited, thought it was a well-run. I did kind of take the liberty, since we had nailed down a date, to contact Earth Paint up in Wooddale to say, hey, can you put us in your calendar? Because I'm not sure if it's because residents are getting rid of their paint or there's other avenues, but I just thought Chris and his crew did a better job. So I will be sending the draft out once I've completed it to the commission, and also, of course, to Commissioner Lynn Smith, because she said that she was interested in kind of being her person to kind of help coordinate that. So that concludes that item. I'm going to move on to item 5C, update on Keep America Beautiful. So I did send out an email with regards to Keep America Beautiful. Some of the things that Commissioner Smith had uncovered. Personally, I think the costs involved are just, it's not worth it for us. But since she's done this research, I did email her to say that I'm going to postpone us, having a more in-depth discussion about it when she'll be returning for our next meeting. So, I think it was a good idea, but I just don't think it's worth it for us to become involved. And there was, there was a group called DuPage Clean and Beautiful, but I have nobody in the county government knows anything about it. I knew it existed many years ago, but I think it just went away. So I'm going to move on to item 5D. This is the update on the community research on climate and urban science. The acronym is CROCUS. And I was ready to kind of what's the expression? Throw the towel in, yeah. Because Robin Grange from Argonne just was not responsive. I went to the Crocus website and, for Vasily's, Crocus is a program. It's run by the Argonne Lab, and these are smaller sites where they collect weather data and other data that relates to climate change. And they're looking for sites around the Chicago metropolitan area. And I went to the Crocus website, which has changed, and lo and behold, they're already putting up sites. And their newest one will be in Humboldt Park. All of them are pretty much in the city. And there was a short video, and there was a name of an engineer who was involved in putting the sites together. And I found him on the staff directory at Argonne, and he responded like the next day. And I said, hey, I've been trying to communicate through Robin Grange. She's very difficult. So he put me in touch with the person. His name is Scott Colas, who's running the program. And he said, I believe that Downers Grove is looking at getting a site as well. So it sounds like they're starting to look at suburban sites. So I did get some details about what the site plan would look like, what the power requirements are for the site. And so it's a possibility. So I thought, we've been talking about it for a while, so I'm hoping that Scott Colas will be able to give us some, better information, because, some of the facility managers for District 45, District 48, say, we need to have details, we can't just say.
Right.
So,
How do you spell his name?
Scott Colas, it's last name is Collis.
Okay. And there was on one of the news stations, there was a feature on this
I'm
program.
sorry, say again?
On one of the news stations, I can't tell you when, probably 2 weeks ago, this program was featured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the major news programs.
And the engineer that I talked to, his name is Matt Tuftedal, Tuftedal, and he was very helpful. He responded like the next day, and then sent me an email. So we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 5E. This is the update on changes to the commission structure, adding a junior commissioner and creating a subcommittee. So the day after our meeting last month, I sent an email to village staff saying that it was the wish, that the commission would like to have a junior commissioner, and of course using the model for the Community Focused on Unifying Neighbors Commission ordinance. And that item was on the village board agenda, and then it was passed, I was told that it was passed last Monday. So, and it was not just for our commission, it's for all commissions. So I sent an email to Ivan Figueroa to say, here's the link, submit your application, because you can now become a junior commissioner. So he replied that he's pretty excited, and he'll submit his application. And so we may have a junior commissioner at our August meeting. So it wasn't just our commission. Village board member Deepa Kumar was also advocating for that change, so. In that same email that I had sent out, I asked the village manager, and I copied the assistant village manager. I asked them to, if you will, a legal ruling, because in my mind, the ordinance seemed pretty clear. But, there's always different interpretations of things, and I did not get a response to that part of my email. So I did see Manager Harline this Wednesday morning, and I said, I didn't get a response to this part of my inquiry. Would you please respond? And I said, I'll be glad to send you, send the email to you again, and I did. And on my way up here this evening, I spoke to him again to say, hey, I would really appreciate a response. So, I got a feeling we're not gonna be able to appoint non-commissioners to a subcommittee. And I contacted Mark Paulson, who is the resident who is interested in the subcommittee, and I said, I don't think it's gonna happen. But he said that he did listen to our discussion, and he appreciated the thoughtful discussion that the commission had. And he said he's willing to work with the commission in any way we would like, so. And I thought, and I put this in my email, I thought it was interesting that there were 24 distinct accesses to that recording of our commission meeting. So there are folks out there that are listening. So
24 distinct accesses, but
24, yeah, so it's not, you cannot, if you access it multiple times, it doesn't increase the number of.
okay, so it is 24 different people.
It's 24 distinct, separate people that are listening to the recording.
Or at least 24 different URLs.
Yeah, because I experimented, I went in multiple times, it didn't change the number.
This is not the YouTube.
This is the YouTube.
YouTube, well, the reason why the number didn't increase is probably just because it only refreshes the count every couple hours.
Okay, okay,
You're talking about the view count, right?
the view count, exactly.
Yeah, no, it'll count multiple views from the same person.
Okay. Maybe I didn't do it over a longer period of time, but it looked like it, okay.
Well, still,
Still, there are people out there that are
Yeah.
listening to.
that anybody's listening.
And I don't think many people are going to listen to it multiple times.
I mean, it is scintillating.
Yeah.
But I can see how they would listen to 15 minutes and then come back and do another 15. but-
That should only count as one view.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
okay, I'm gonna move on to item 5F. Community outreach, communication. And I've listed some events here that are coming up. National Night Out is,
August 6th.
it's Tuesday. Yes. It's the Tuesday,
First Tuesday in August.
yeah, it could be
Sixth.
August, is it August?
August 6th, yes.
August 6th?
Yes, 5:30 to 8 at Cortese Park.
So, yeah, so that was good news that it's at Cortese Park and not the pavilion where they can cram as many people in as possible. So, from what I've been told, it's gonna be bigger and better than last year. I'd like to participate. And I think so our appearance at Summer Festival was a little bit disjointed. I mean, I would try and make it more integrated, because we just had a lot of stuff that we were kind of, we could still do the energy games, those are still available to us. And it's a short window, I think it's from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. Yeah, so if there's a consensus, then I would just go ahead and tell them that we need a spacious, well-shaded place for us to
Yes.
speak to residents.
A spacious 2 feet of table.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was hysterical. And you had to go through the bushes to get to it.
I unfortunately will not be able to attend this year.
I'm up in the air.
Out of town.
I'm
I'm
saying-
out of town.
You're out of town, okay,
I can be there.
okay. And I do have a Traffic and Safety Commission meeting, but that's at 8 o'clock. So I'd have to.
That's a late meeting.
What's that?
That's a late meeting.
They're always at 8 o'clock.
Oh, man.
So I'd have to leave by 7:30.
I think it's winding down by then often. Anyway.
It is winding down, yeah,
People get there early to get the free food.
right, exactly. The other event that's coming up, and we kind of talked about this briefly at the Bike Pedestrian and Transit, is the Community Focused on Unifying Neighbors Commission has an autumn jubilee, which occurs on October 12th. I haven't attended in the past, but they said that last year they had 500 people at the autumn jubilee. So it's a couple months off, but it's an opportunity for us if we want to participate in that event. I mentioned Pumpkin Smash last month. So I did indicate to the folks at Scarce that we were going to participate, and it's not the Saturday immediately following Halloween, it's the Saturday after, so I'm not sure how many. A lot of those pumpkins are gonna be eaten by squirrels or.
Yeah, I think it was October 11th, I think is what you said at the last meeting, which that's a long time to hang on to a
November.
pumpkin.
It'd be November.
November 9th.
November, yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, it's a long time to, yeah,
Second Saturday in November then.
second Saturday in November, right?
Yeah.
You have to
Well,
bring
we'll see how we
it, you
do.
have to bring it in a bucket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I'll just reach out to LRS and make sure that they have a dumpster on hand for us. Yes,
Question.
Commissioner Moore.
Commissioner Morey, so is Scarce always been the lead on this? Because I don't know why it would be moved back and we can't just move it up to the weekend we've always done. I mean, if we're just dealing with LRS.
So Scarce is the one that kind of invented Pumpkin Smash, and I don't know the specifics of it, but Kay McKean had legislation where you could, because it involves the composting of the pumpkins, we could certainly, I mean, there's a whole page on Scarce's website about Pumpkin Smash.
Right.
So they coordinate it, they do the publicity, they provide us with the resources, the flyers, et cetera. Do we want to, Commissioner Leishman?
Yeah, I mean, we're not the only pumpkin smash in the suburbs,
No,
right?
no,
they're
they're-
kind of all over the place.
It's all over the place.
I suspect the only reason why they would be willing to move it for us is if we're all right having a bin of stewing pumpkins for a week on our property until they come pick it up, you know. And I think that'd be kind of gross.
No, LRS
Yeah,
picks it
LRS
up, whatever. I mean, Scares doesn't take the pumpkins. They just organize it. LRS will take it the next day.
So what we do is we tell them that we're doing it, and then they communicate with the county. They communicate with Joy Hins at the county to say, hey, they're having and I think that maybe has to do with the counts for composting, I'm not sure. Commissioner Moore.
So in that regard, if there's so many other communities that are doing this, why don't we reach out to them and find out what their intentions are? If we know someone close by, if they're not gonna wait 2 weeks, because it seems like the stuff's not gonna end up in the landfill, it's not gonna end up being compost, it's gonna end up in the landfill. Because people they're not gonna wanna wait till November, the second weekend.
You know, I didn't have a conversation with them about the date, but I did say, when is the date? I think the fact that Halloween is on a Wednesday and it's so close to the weekend that maybe Halloween parties or Halloween celebrations may take place the weekend after. So, I mean, I could certainly, if there's plenty of time, we could certainly reach out to them and say, hey, we're thinking of doing our pumpkin smash the Saturday after.
I'm inclined to just stick with, since we're glomming onto a bigger organization, I'm inclined to just stick with their date, see how it goes, see if people hang on to it. It's 9 days after Halloween. If it's
cold
cool,
enough, if
the weather's cool, the pumpkins will be
Yeah,
fine.
if it's cold, they'll be fine.
And on that note, Commissioner Greco is leaving the meeting at 7:39-ish.
See ya.
Thank
Safe
you.
travel,
Thank you.
safe travel.
Safe travel.
Are you in or out for August 5th? I forgot to ask, for DART. It's a Monday, 9 a.m.
99% chance I'll be back at work,
Okay.
so no.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the consensus? Should you wanna
I-
explore doing an earlier date?
There might be a very good reason why they're doing it on the
Yeah.
9th. Maybe it's a coordinating effort. We don't know.
Yeah, that absolutely is the reason, yeah.
Right, so I would go with, as Commissioner Greco said, just go with
Yeah.
how they've set it up.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Right.
Okay.
There are people who want to keep them longer.
Yeah.
So
That's
I-
true too.
I feel like last year the same thing happened. I feel like it was not the Saturday immediately after
Okay.
Halloween. It was an additional week later, and we still had people turn up.
Commissioner Moore.
What about the people like Jewel and Walmart that want to get rid of them? They don't want them around that long. They want them off their property.
Yeah, that's, it is what it is, if they wanna get rid of them, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we always ask them when you set them aside for us. I think getting them from Walmart is a little bit much, cause we did that one year, that's a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the rain and the weather we've had, and I've seen people who are growing, we're not growing pumpkins this year, but people who are, they're really coming along, so I think it'll be a bumper crowd of pumpkins this year. I don't think there's gonna be a lack of pumpkins come October.
Okay. So I guess what I'm hearing is we're gonna stick with Scaris's date.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cooking oil collection, I've cleared that with Salt Creek Sanitary District. We can do a special collection the day after, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And that doesn't take a lot of people. I mean, I did it myself and, we had, I think 10 people came through. So they have the receptacle, it's pretty straightforward. But I did, what's going into the Village Matters says Environmental Concerns Commission, in partnership with, so. Okay, social media posts. Anything on that, Commissioner Leishman?
Okay. Yeah. So I think our first round of them is going to be going out soon. Sorry, I'm a little bit frazzled.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, just tired. Our first one was drafted by Commissioner Hill. Do you remember when that one was supposed to go out?
July, it's supposed to be posted July 28th, I believe.
Okay, so that'll be going out.
Nature
Yes.
Conservation Day.
Yes, that'll be going out this weekend. Then I think.
Well, but I talked to, I have been in contact with Riley. I want to double check with, first of all, they can't get into the schools with plastic bags until the school's open. And I want to check with those in charge to make sure they're still doing it. If their date's passed, they're going to want more plastic bags at their schools. So I've been in contact with her, and I'm going to tweak what I sent her, but also we're going to wait to post anything until school starts again, until I've had a chance to talk to them.
And then National Bee Day is August 17th.
21st.
21st, Riley said it was the 17th.
Oh, really? Maybe it's wrong in my calendar.
Yeah.
I'm sure
And
she's right.
And I had looked it up and I had thought it was the 17th, but.
That's totally fine.
So I'm getting that one ready.
Yeah, if we would like to choose posts for September, there are quite a few options.
Cool.
There is, on the 7th of September, there's International Day of Clean Air. On the 16th, sorry, I'll give you guys a chance to write down. The 16th is World Cleanup Day, which I kind of, goes along with the Keep America Beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
The 21st is Zero Emissions Day.
What day is it? The
21st. The 26th is National Public Lands Day. And finally, on the 29th is World Rivers Day.
World Rivers Day.
Yeah. And then, just for completion, in the first week of October there, October 1st is World Vegetarian Day, and October 4th is World Animal Day.
I can do September 16, World Cleanup Day. How's that?
I'm going to see if I can put something together for the 29th. World Rivers Day.
Okay, so with the 16th and the 29th, and Sandy's post about Honeybee Day on the either 17th or 21st of August, one of those two. Do we want one earlier in September?
We were going to do them every other week.
Yeah, that's what we were kind of thinking. So National Honeybee Day, assuming it's on the 21st, there's still one more week of August. And then the first week of September. There's, basically 3 weeks between.
I'm going to propose, not on the topic here, but I don't mind putting together one. Well, I don't know when mine will come out now. Depends on how quickly I can talk to these people, but instead of doing this International Day of Clean Air, the issue with cardboard.
With cardboard?
With the shortage of cardboard. I think letting the residents know that we have huge recycling bins now that you can use to put your cardboard in, and it's needed because there's a shortage.
So you want to do, if it's not on it totally does not have to be about a holiday.
Right.
Right.
I don't
So
thi-
it could be any time in the first week of September if you'd like.
If we can make, okay. Because if you're right about these things, they should be for not just a celebration. Right. This is to inform people
Sure,
of what they
absolutely.
can do. Okay.
Yeah.
And Riley did a nice job with that, with what she drafted for the Nature Conservation
Did she?
Day.
Yeah, so
Good.
we've been trying to get them like the drafts to her like 2 weeks before the post.
Right.
And we found out later the reason for that is because she put quite a bit of effort into like making some nice graphics for
Okay.
the posts. It wasn't just plain text,
Right.
as you'll see when Sandy's post comes out.
So I want to add a question, Commissioner Mori. So are we going to have a mention of the opportunity for other people to apply as Virginia Commissioner and the subcommittee for the Native Plants Pollinator Garden Sustainable Landscape? Are we going to mention that in a post?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you
Are
said.
we, item E, is anything in item 5E, is that going to be mentioned in a post so that we can bring in
Do we want to try to use a post to recruit new junior commissioners?
and to advertise for the subcommittee for members for that, if one is established?
Well, I haven't seen the exact verbiage that was passed by the board on Monday. I think it limits us to 2. So maybe when Ivan Figueroa is onboarded as a commissioner, maybe he'll have a suggestion on other students that would like to, and since he is going to be a commissioner who will not count towards the way the ordinance is written, doesn't count towards our quorum requirement. He's a commissioner, he could serve on a subcommittee. I mean, that's my interpretation.
As a non-voting member.
What's that?
As a
a
non-voting
non-voting
member.
As a non-voting member.
Yes.
Yep.
He's still a commissioner, he
Yep.
and if we have another junior commissioner, maybe they could be our
If they're
sustainable landscaping subcommittee with another commission, with a full-fledged active
Yeah.
commission.
Well, just to be clear, are you required to be a member of the ECC to serve on a subcommittee?
That's what I've been trying to get an answer to, a definitive answer. So I've sent 2 emails, had a couple conversations, I'm waiting for a response. All I want is a response, all I want is
Right.
just to say, hey, this is what this is what we believe, this is what the attorney believes, and,
Right.
when I get that, then I'm just, we'll go with it, I'm not,
Right,
I'm
once you
not,
see the verbiage, then we can put it out there, because there may be people who might be interested in just doing one. Like, for example, when I never knew what ECC did until I was on BP&T, and then I kind of like, well, that's a good segue, I'll do both.
So I think we've got our posts for September.
Yep.
So we'll have Commissioner Draconis at the beginning of September about cardboard shortages, Sandy on the 16th for World Cleanup Day, Bob on the 29th for World Rivers Day.
Sounds good.
Sorry.
Okay, great,
Commissioner Hill,
It's okay.
Chairman Wagner.
okay.
It's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to item 5G, lead service lines. And I had been communicating with Riley Pilar, Public Information Officer, and she was excited to kind of meet with me and with Commissioner Smith, who has some background in the lead service line issue. And I sent her, I sent Riley, I copied Suzanne McVeigh, Manager Harline, Director Guerra about it, and to say we'd like to help, put together some content. And so Suzanne McVeigh said that Director Guerra would respond, that he was kind of spearheading it, and he responded today to say that he's working with Riley, and if we have suggestions, we should go ahead and submit those. So when Commissioner Smith returns, I sent her the resources that I had gathered, and my thought is that we would put together some recommendations so that we would have kind of a more robust presence, on the website that deals with lead service lines. Because there are questions about it. I mean, and the inventory that I think Vasily will tell us, there's a lot of unknowns, aren't there? I mean,
That is correct. I mean, we know general areas on the streets where we think there is a majority, or a lot of them, but
yeah.
not the exact location.
So whatever information we can put in residents' hands, I think that it's so much the better. So we're gonna put together some recommendations, and we can bring them to the commission to, just to review, and then we'll pass them on to staff. Okay, I'm gonna move on to item 5H, possible tours. And Commissioner Amore, you wanna talk about the tour you put together for DART?
Right, we have a set date and time. It'll be Monday, August 5th at 9 a.m. at the DART facility in North Aurora. It's right off of I-88 and Route 31. Interested parties should let me know sometime in the next few days, and because I'm be receiving an email by Monday from the coordinator to let us know where to gather and park. We can have as many as 10. We'll be joined by members of the Lombard Garden Club who have been partnering with us and providing, I think it's numeral 6 items that are coded 6 block and food service items. And it's about an hour tour, and you get to see what they do with it.
Okay. Okay, I also want to mention that this is a tour that State Representative Diane Blair Sherlock put together. It's a tour of the International Paper Facility in Carroll Stream, and this will be at Thursday, August 8th at 10 a.m. And I think the group size is 10, but so far we have only a few people. I mean, of course, Representative Sherlock, Blair Sherlock is going, I'm going, a couple other people are going, so if any commissioners would like to participate, their interest is because they want to speak to her, but they also would like other people who are interested to give their perspective on cardboard recycling, because it's become an issue for them. They don't, they're having trouble getting supply, and they're searching for solutions, so.
You know, I regularly, when we had a lawn that we wanted to convert to in native plants and stuff, and I always found a ton of boxes behind J&R, because all the bicycles come in those cardboard boxes, and I would just be pulling them out of the trash. So I don't know if they're aware that they could find someone who might come and get them and not pay a waste hauler to come and get them.
That's a good point. Commissioner Jaconas, did you mention, is there a drop-off box, did you say that for cardboard somewhere? No, you did not, okay.
No,
I'm just
it's in
saying
your
that
bin.
your bin is so big now that it's much easier to put the boxes in there than it was in the other ones that we
Right.
had.
The only problem with the boxes that they get for bicycles is that they've got a lot of heavy staples, which I'm not sure if they're equipped, because we were using it in our own yard. I was constantly prying them out with a needle and those pliers. Because my wife had learned that in order to establish this area, we put the cardboard down and then cover it with wood chips.
Yep.
And that eventually the grass would go away and never come back.
Yeah, it should be interesting to hear, from them what their challenges are. And I also want to mention that Kevin Goss invited us to return to Sugar Creek Golf Course to take another tour, because as Commissioner Jaconas probably knows, it's grown out quite a bit. And Lonnie Morris from the DuPage Monarch Project is going to be there to see it. So he thought it would be a nice opportunity for us to just take another look at it now that it's grown out. So that's Wednesday, July 31st at 12:30 at Sugar Creek Golf Course. And I'll offer this if the commission is interested. I could also help facilitate putting together a tour at Salt Creek Sanitary District. The district is about to, in the next couple months, we'll have a major construction project going on. But before that starts, there'd be a good opportunity to take a tour. So, if you want to think on it, it probably would be 20 to 30 minutes to take a tour of the facility. But it's really interesting, very eye-opening. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 5I. Report on goals and objectives. And Commissioner Hill asked me to put this on the agenda. And you may recall, probably well over a year ago, we had a discussion about goals and objectives, and this kind of was the impetus for us to take on certain issues, which is kind of translated into social media posts. And my thought on this issue was, in terms of goals and objectives, I think Commissioner Jaconas has kind of voiced this concern that maybe we do too much, maybe we're not focused on a specific issue. So my thought would be for us as a commission to develop maybe 3 or 4 goals for next year. And that would translate into, what is our budget request gonna be for next year? So I'll just open it up the floor for discussion on that.
Well, that's a coincidental because I have that concern, where we have gone. And I did bring the ECC from the strategic planning, what we said we were gonna do, and I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, what have we done with this? And I have our other goals that we did several years ago, going along with that green compact. So we set the goals, which is wonderful and admirable, but I like your word focus. I think we can't do it all, and we have to be careful of what is in our realm of ability as a commission as opposed to what the village does. So that's one of the concerns that I have. I'd be happy to talk about, if we want to use these, I could have made a copy of these, I guess. But these are the 10 that we came up with that day. And if we did that and spent that time, seems like a good place to me,
Great, yeah.
a good place to start.
And I have to admit, I started looking through minutes and I didn't retain those. So my bad, but
that's the problem I have sometimes even at work. I mean, you got a strategic plan, you have your action steps, you have to revisit them. And, I have to report to the board on those. And the village just adopted a strategic plan, and they're gonna use some piece of software, I guess, to help measure how they're going to achieve those things. But you've gotta go back, probably the agenda should be accompanied with our goals. You gotta refocus back on it, otherwise it just disappears into, it's like you're doing with the bike and pedestrian, And then what's achievable, what can we do, what's our focus, what can we recommend, what can we,
As I was reading through, trying to find this, because I also didn't have a date in my head, how many minutes I read that said, look into this, and then there's no follow-up. And I'm thinking, this is wonderful, because we have a lot of ideas, but what is our real job as a commission, and how can we use these to accomplish that job? That would be my...
we're doing some things really well.
Yes.
You mentioned the tree grant the village got, and commissioners going out and help with the gator bags, and so that was something that was achieved. The Green Champion puts us out there. So we're doing well, but it just feels scattered some days, and it's like it'd be nice to refocus.
I think as the calendar comes
Yes.
up, we have the Green Champion,
Yes,
and we have the other events that we do. We prepare for
the spring sweep
sweep.
that's huge.
That's a big event.
Yeah,
We do a lot of things, and I think those
and if this
activities kind of suck our energies
right.
into, doing those. And it's not a bad thing, but we spend time putting other goals, and then we
Right.
drifted away. And I'm going to take responsibility here. I'm the chair, so
I think this is Commissioner Leishman. I think with those sort of activities, as you refer to them, like I don't think those have to come at the cost of achieving our goals. But like, one approach you could take would be that like, there should be a goal written for like, what sort of activities are we going to do? Like, the reason why we are doing the Green Champion Award should like align with one of our goals as a
Right.
commission.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why we do outreach activities at different schools and stuff like that should align with another goal that we have as a commission. So like, I don't think there's anything bad about doing those. I just think that like we need to get more specific about what we want to get out of those activities, how much time we want to spend doing those activities, and like when we are quote unquote done with those activities, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that, once you start doing something, you want to continue the tradition. I mean, you want to have continuity. You don't want to do a Green Champion Award one year and then stop. And then, so you have to have continuity.
Sure, and there's sorry, not to
No,
interrupt
go ahead,
you. I think the Green Champion Award is a great thing that we do, but like, I still think there's value in going through the exercise of being mindful of why we do the Green Champion Award.
Right.
We don't do it just because we did it last
Nobody
year.
can.
We
We do it for a specific
We
reason.
do it because we're trying to encourage green champion behavior in the village.
Right.
We're trying to recognize people that are improving town.
Commissioner Morey.
Thank you. So Commissioner Moy, and a lot of the goals that we've set for ourselves are recurring.
Right.
No more till Mother's Day and the pumpkin smash and spring sweep. And the fact is that when you set these goals for yourself, obviously every year prior to them, we review and refresh. Some of the things we've talked about in the past, I never understood why it didn't be reviewed and reconsidered. Like, for example, when we propose having a bicycle tour of solar power equipped homes. When we proposed having a bicycle tour of homeowners that had solar panels on their roofs, things like that. It was a great idea, and then it didn't seem, I don't know if it just became unworkable or.
Sometimes I think though it's because there's only 7. And we, somebody's gotta take the lead, right?
Mhm.
It's gotta be, and I understand what you're saying. And that's what I saw in those minutes. Lots of things that were good ideas to think about, but they died. And I don't know, I think this is a perfect place to start. I wish I had made copies for everybody. And I
You
can,
can take pictures. I took a picture of it.
For example, so you could maybe input on this. There have been a number of times when I've questioned why the village doesn't invest in greener technology for their village vehicles. Why are old police vehicles, which aren't very, aren't green, but at least I wouldn't consider them a better option, except for cost. Why isn't that factored in? I know I spoke to Manager Harline about, after I bought an electric vehicle, how happy I was and how well that should work when you have a dedicated fleet that ends up in the same place every night and can be recharged. And I know there may have been some programs at some point that gave you back some cash. Those probably rapidly disappearing because that was just programs to get people to be interested in those vehicles. But even when I was doing my research, I know we have some hybrid vehicles in the fleet now. But
We have,
and I saw a Prius or
We had
something
a
running.
Prius.
I don't know what happened to that.
We do have a Prius,
we have a Prius, yeah.
but it's pretty old.
Uno?
Yeah.
The police department was looking
Prius,
at a
not
hybrid,
Prii.
but I don't think they ever went with it.
Yeah, I don't
There's a
have an
prejudice
answer for
against
that.
hybrids and EVs, because you want, especially with police, it's a pursuit vehicle
Right.
sometimes.
I understand, and I understand that we have an aging infrastructure, and, because you guys did an assessment of all the buildings, and why maybe they not be structurally capable of putting solar panels on. But we don't have any solar panels on any of our buildings, and that's an opportunity missed, not even the library guy, they didn't even put
Couldn't
them on
afford it.
that.
Couldn't afford it.
Right,
So
We
in
asked.
In that note, I did forward to the manager this afternoon, Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus is putting together a aggregate grant for fueling and charging infrastructure.
Mhm.
So they have a week to. It's not a complicated thing for them to get involved in that aggregate grant. So in other words, they're putting together a group of communities to do that. So it's up to the manager and Public Works Director if they want to do that.
and based on what you said, and one thing I didn't mention at the BP&T meeting, because I had just sent you guys out that email about the Ville Avenue Improvement Project, but I seem to remember somewhere embedded in the email that the funding source was initially from the Metropolitan Mayor's Conference. Maybe not, maybe they didn't provide the funds, but maybe they.
No, it's like a pass-through. It's like,
The DMMC is kind of like an organization that, yes, you start with them, but the funding is ultimately, it's a SDP, Surface Transportation
Right.
Program.
it's like DuPage mayors and managers. They help
That's the
disperse
one.
the funds.
Yeah, DuPage mayors and
Yeah,
managers
they don't
conference.
have the funds. They facilitate
They-
dispersing them.
Right.
They put together a list. Yeah. Yeah, DMMC does that, MMC does that.
And it just occurred to me, but we were talking about funding bicycle infrastructure in the future. Would that be a source to search for funds through the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference if you want to make improvements in bicycle infrastructure? Since they're kind of guiding the way for road building projects, I would think that would also be something they might at least take under consideration.
Well, the bicycle path improvements is definitely in that project, is part of it.
Yeah, there is a transportation committee with the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, and former manager Keener used to chair it. But of course, I don't know what manager Harline is. I'm sure he's involved with DuPage Mayors and Managers, but I'm not sure how deep his involvement is. So.
I
Well-
think, part of what I believe what we could do, I always focus on what can we do and what can we try to make an impact on. A couple things right off the bat is we can make a strong recommendation on getting recycling at village events. We still don't, I haven't been to a concert at Cortese. Is there recycling at that? Because there wasn't at the Kiwanis concert. I brought my recycling container and got some boxes.
I've seen them, but not on a regular basis.
Right.
Yeah. Another thing that could be done is making a recommendation for recycled content.
Yeah.
There's in the state government, they have now requirements for recycled content. We could also recommend to the village that they adopt some standard for recycled content.
Can
Yes.
we go back to
Goals.
how we're going to?
Yeah, we kind of got off track here.
Yeah, how are we going to, what's our plan for using these? Is that what we want to do? Am I
I don't believe I was involved in creating that.
I think we have to revisit them.
at the
Yeah.
library?
I don't think so.
No, we did that here in,
Not this one. This one was
Can I
a
look at it?
special meeting at the library.
Was it a special meeting at the I don't
thought-
recall.
Maybe I'm wrong.
There was this-
Maybe I'm wrong.
As part of the comprehensive plan, we had a meeting
Yes.
at the
Yeah.
library.
That's,
No, we were not setting goals there, I don't believe.
No,
We
we
had-
were participating in the
we had
process.
to come up with, we pared down our goals.
Oh, that one.
But that's not what this is it? I don't think we were talking about develop a program for elementary and middle schools to start training the youth on environmental issues.
Okay, then I don't know where this came from. It's in my file first that says goals.
I also don't really,
Can I take a look?
yeah.
So I say we need to revisit them and make sure we're all on the same page as far as goals and objectives are
You know
concerned.
what, I know I took specific minutes for that meeting.
Yeah.
If
For the
this
meet-
isn't
For
for
the,
the strategic planning, I know I was asked to take specific minutes,
you took minutes at the comprehensive plan meeting,
yes.
but those were, I think they were quite terse. It was like,
Is that where we only came up with 3?
I don't remember exactly how the exercise worked, but it was,
I'll look then.
It was-
Okay,
it-
then I misspoke here.
it was recommendations that we were sharing with the staff that are working on the comprehensive plan.
Right.
Right.
So it was like things like transportation. Like, of course, like the things that I cared about were like transportation around the village and stuff like that.
We were doing, it was, for lack of a better word, we're like a mini focus group. Each
Yeah.
group,
Yeah.
each commission was
Community
encouraged.
visioning.
Then
To-
this one, because it has the numbers, I bet this one went with that green
Yes.
compact,
Yes.
because we're tying in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is old and we're not gonna use it? And we didn't use it?
I'm not trying to disparage
No,
that.
I
I'm just not
understand.
familiar with it.
So we have, okay, well, I will try to find that other one. What I
Well,
have on there.
I've got the minutes from that specific.
Yeah, we did, there was a goal setting that we did here, and I remember
Yes.
using the whiteboard
Yes,
to kind of,
That, I bet that's this, because they are tied in with certain numbers here to the sections of the green compact.
The only goal setting that I was involved in, we did last year, and it was we were all kind of working on it independently because we chose like special
Yeah,
topics
yeah.
and we put them in the Google spreadsheet. And I can pull that Google spreadsheet back up again, but I feel like with each of those going to special topics, it might be a bit too broad for if we're trying to focus things as a commission.
Yes.
right, and I think I think Commissioner Leishman made a good point. We do activities,
Yes.
and we do them every year, but they do satisfy our
Yes.
goals.
And we should acknowledge that by having that document in front of us and
Yeah,
saying, oh
say-
yeah, that's why we're doing this.
And I remember when former manager Keener, he started putting in the agenda
Yes.
to say, this satisfies strategic goal, to do
Yep.
this or that.
Yep.
So, yeah, maybe we kind of do things automatically, but we are doing them, there is ultimately a purpose. When we give a Green Champion Award, it makes people think about, hopefully, what they can do in the community.
Right.
And there is a lot of detail in that Green Champion Award, the different categories that you can, so.
Back to the question, what are we gonna do?
So my thought is, I think we need to go back to the minutes to look at, to see what we came up with. And this is
At which meeting?
the meeting that we had here at Village Hall.
That's this. And this was over here, I have a complete list. ECC list of prospective goals, October 2019.
That sounds like it.
and then it leads to this.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic goals.
Right.
Right,
Then we
but then
locked ourselves in our houses and they all went away.
we have to revisit those.
So
Yeah,
Let's
let's do this. Let's republish those. And then, we can have a more in-depth discussion on it at our next meeting.
So I agree that we're not prepared to really discuss those goals tonight.
Right.
My concern is that if these goals are going to be shaping our budget request for 2025, as Chairman Wagner suggested, we're going to have to turn that around real quick because I think the draft budget is being finalized in August, right?
So, I was told that the budget forms will go out August 19th, and that they would be due back in September. Right?
Okay.
I think September 21st.
I'm not too concerned that we're gonna spend more money than they're gonna give us.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's logical that you have goals and you say, okay, what resources do we have to accomplish those goals?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not gonna get it, I mean, we're not gonna get $10,000, you know,
How much do we get now? 2,000?
we get $2,000.
Well, I mean, I know like our ECC budget in particular is not going to grow dramatically, but like we can make requests for like the village as a whole. So one thing you'll see in some of the goals that the PPT is considering is that we are planning, well, we're considering making requests in the budget for 2025, not for like BPT controlled money, but for like bike and pedestrian infrastructure.
Recommendations.
Yeah.
Which they can factor in if it aligns with their strategic plan and if they have money to do it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You basically you can say, well, it'd be nice if you could afford this to do this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can request. That's all we can do.
Right.
But
Excuse me, our budget is due September 27th.
okay.
Is it the day of the week is that?
It's a Friday.
Is it Friday?
Right, so we have two commission meetings that we could, hash out goals and, a budget request, which I think is perfectly doable.
Okay.
Commissioner
So
Moore.
Bob, thank you, Commissioner Maury. So, in regard to the budget request, can we continue to count on ComEd continue to count on ComEd to provide items for our giveaways and our events?
That would be
Because at
awesome.
some point, we have to consider other options.
Well, I mean, you have to make a request. I don't know what the status of that program is, because we opted not to, because it was kind of you get a pallet load of stuff and where does it go? I mean, thankfully, the library and Tri-Town YMCA helped us out, so.
But that is something that helps our residents,
Yeah,
which is, I was thinking of that earlier today as a success,
Right.
You're giving them energy efficient items that they can
And they're
use.
very happy to take them.
Exactly. So,
I mean, even when we were down, I can remember a couple of times when we were just down to weather stripping, and they were happy to take it.
yeah.
yeah. So Ellen, if you could share that with us, and then we can, I think that probably what we'll do is kind of clear the board and make that the primary objective of our next meeting. That's.
Should we add that as an agenda item for August meeting to review ECC goals?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We will make that the primary focus of our meeting.
And then should the should that be incorporated
Yes.
into the,
Yeah, once the BPT finalizes our goals, as far as I'm concerned, that needs to be officially approved by the ECC, as the ECC is the
Right.
board approved commission.
right,
And that's
So-
kind of part of the rules that we set forth.
Yeah.
right.
So
There's gotta be a marriage of the two.
yes, we can be a we can have sub goals for the sub commission.
There you go. Yep.
So Eleanor, you'll be able to send those out to us. And if you need, I can scan those if you wish,
That's
or,
okay, I must have them someplace. If
What's
I've
that?
got it here, if I have it here, I have it
Okay.
someplace.
Now the BPT goals are probably going to be in a slightly different format, but yes,
No worries.
I think they should be packaged together.
okay, I'm gonna move on to item 6, public comment on non-agenda items, no public here. Commissioner comments, I'm gonna start with Commissioner Leishman.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give the same comments that I gave for the BPT. So anyone on the BPT, cover your ears. First thing that I wanted to make people aware of is that, as I've mentioned in the past, Springfield is working on what's called the Metropolitan Mobility Act, which will help address the fiscal cliff for the RTA. And one of the representatives in the suburbs, I can't remember which one it is right now, they are having a series of public hearings about the importance of public transportation. And the one for DuPage County is on August 8th at 10 a.m. Of course, it says the same time as the paper tour. I plan to go to this one. I don't think a location has been selected yet, but I do think it's important to go politely talk at some legislators about how important public transportation is to Villa Park. Then the other thing that I've been doing lately is I've been attending some information sessions from IDOT about the ITEP grants, which are grants that are issued every 2 years to improve bicycle and pedestrian networks in communities around Illinois. So these are like relatively large grants targeted at relatively large projects, not installing like a single crossing or anything like that. Or if it is a single crossing, it's one that goes over 83, like the 83 bike path that's gonna go north of North Avenue by the hotel there. That is from an ITEP grant. So it is relatively large projects. I think it would be good for us to pursue one. It's not going to happen this year, but maybe for 2026, that's something we'll look into doing.
We being Villa Park?
Sorry, we as the BPT
Okay.
might strongly encourage the village to look into it for 2026. It seems like applicants have the most success if phase 1 engineering is complete. So, yeah, that's something we're going to be thinking about. That's all I
Well,
have.
then, can I suggest something?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you have a specific project in mind, I would probably contact village manager and tell him to add something in the budget for phase 1. Shouldn't be something crazy.
You don't think so?
Well, depending on the project, of course.
Sure. Cool. Thank you for your suggestion.
And is that it for you?
Yeah, that's
Thank
it
you.
for me.
Okay. Commissioner Draconis,
Nothing?
nothing? Commissioner Maury?
Yeah, two things. If we, I was just wondering, I know there's a lot of boards and commission have grouped the public comments items together. And I've been accommodated when I had a non-agenda item that have, it's been, order of business has been changed so that I can speak on a non-agenda item instead of waiting till the end of the meeting. Do we want to clean that up so that we put the two, public comments sections together?
We could certainly do
Or-
that.
or do we
That's
wanna
an
just-
easy thing to
That's
do.
an easy fix. And then
Yeah.
second thing,
I mean, if we don't normally have a lot of public, but.
right, and I'm sure we would accommodate them if they showed up
Sure.
and wanted to talk about something. And then the other thing was, that, not that this should apply in Villa Park, but I just came under some information that the federal government has increased the funds that they pay to communities to permanently close railroad crossings. So, which crossing would you like to close on the UP West line to fund a bypass on one of the remaining ones?
We're not gonna close any.
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be a problem. Having a train sitting on a crossing, theoretically closes that crossing,
Could we,
especially if it stops. So,
could we open a pedestrian crossing at Westmore Mire
Westmore Myers, yeah.
just
Well-
to close it and get the money?
well, actually, in Wheaton, when they redid this whole West Line project back in the early 2000s, there was I can't remember the name of the street, but it had access to Wheaton College, and they closed that crossing
I remember that.
and put a pedestrian underpass, which floods regularly now.
That's good.
In order so that the students could get back and forth across, but they wanted to have a longer break, place to stage trains.
Yeah.
And they put one of those second train warning devices at President Street to compensate. So they do close crossings, but and make opportunities for people to still get through. Just a thought.
Okay.
Interesting.
Commissioner Hill.
The library is putting together some bibliographies and websites on native landscaping and sustainable living that we're going to offer in print and probably online. So we should have that ready by September. So some resources for patrons.
Commissioner, Director Guerra dropped something off for you.
Good.
It's right over there.
Thank you.
So are you able to store it at the library, or?
Well, we can give some away at the library, but I thought we could also,
We could do it on National Night Out. There we go.
Exactly.
Perfect.
yeah,
And he understands they have more of those.
Yes.
over there.
It's really good stuff. I actually grabbed one out.
yeah, it is. I'm gonna, at the library, I'm gonna put it in a poster frame and hang it. I mean, it's
It is
beautiful,
nice.
It's a native
Good
tree
information.
poster and flyer. I was hoping they would have an updated one, but I couldn't see one online. It's pretty cool. Sorry, I get excited about trees. What can I say?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
good.
but open it up,
Yeah,
all the way up.
yeah. Very nice.
Succotash.
Suitable for framing.
That's right, I'm gonna frame it. I'm interested in getting probably an oak tree, a tulip tree, that's an amazing fast-growing tree. And then there's a tree in there, a native tree called Carolina silverbell.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's kind of cool. So, anyway, so we're working on resources that we can provide to patrons, and if the commission wants to hand them out as well, that's great, but we're doing websites and print resources, so.
Right. Is that it for you?
Yep.
Thank you. I'm gonna kind of combine my little report and the chairman's report. I participated in a training that's put on by the Illinois River Watch. And they're headquartered down in Alton, Illinois, which is the Great Rivers Research Center. And there's a day-long training that normally precedes this, but there's a new person that they have here in Northern Illinois, and we did a mapping of a section of Salt Creek. Measured it, we measured the width, the depth, the flow, and then what we did is we took dip nets in and we disturbed the bottom and we dumped it into a tray, and it was really interesting what we found. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. I mean, there were little worms, there was we thought it was a caddis fly larvae. There are a lot of zebra mussels in Salt Creek, believe it or not. And there's another invasive mussel. So what we collected at the dip net, we're going to go to the Urban Streams Research Center, which is at Blackwell Forest. And we're gonna go look at them the things that are small enough under a microscope to say, okay, what did we find? But believe it or not, we were wading out into Salt Creek. There's all kinds of little schools of fish, and I was amazed that, and there's life in our creek, so, anyways, it was really interesting.
Are those invasive mussels edible?
I think no, I don't think even raccoons want them.
If it's rejected
No,
by a
anything.
raccoon.
There's zebra mussels, and I can't remember the other one that's in the creek, but there's a lot of them in there.
Don't look that up.
I did talk with Julie Settles in finance, and the unexpended amount of our budget is $815.58. So that's what's left in our budget for the rest of this year. I did send out the email about the Open Meetings Act training. I think that should have gone out before. So if you haven't done it, it takes about a half an hour. And then I think Commissioner Morey did it. I sent out the email about the boards and commission handbook. That will come before the village board, probably, I don't know, their next board meeting? I'm not sure. I mentioned that I had passed along an email to the manager about this aggregate grant funding for fueling and charging infrastructure. And Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus does have a training for, EV charging station infrastructure. And they do it every so often. Something that I did not know is that on the November ballot, there is a referendum for the Forest Preserve to, apparently, the percentage that the Forest Preserve gets has decreased, and I don't know the exactly what happened, but there's a whole website devoted towards educating people about the referendum, the fact that the holdings for the Forest Preserve District have expanded, and that especially since COVID, usage of the forest preserves has skyrocketed. It's just, there's a lot, they have more land to manage with more people, so there's an effort to get a referendum passed to get more funding for the Forest Preserve District. And I can send an email out about that. And yeah, that concludes my report. And I'm gonna move over to village staff comments. Any comments?
No.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Leeson?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
by Commissioner Murray. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.
So can I take one of those?